Good chance of winning with Doherty and I against Richie and Larson. Really, I mean, Teece has been the unsung hero here. He's the guy we thought we might be able to take advantage of as a rookie, and he has done nothing but win so far.
Yeah, he's certainly proven his worth to this European team and to the captain who made that pick, and that pick has been paying dividends so far.
Absolutely, you know, and on paper again, Simo's coming off almost a 300 game. Vi's had a pretty good look. You think, wow, they're really in good shape. But we thought the same thing with Jesper and Stu coming into that other doubles match. So
absolutely, and that's one of the things I was talking about earlier before the match started. You know, we've seen so many times, Chris, players with the momentum going into the next match, but then the lanes change again through the practice, and they come out and they're guessing, and they're getting behind the moves maybe a little bit, not being aggressive enough in that move making.
Oh, I think that's an excellent point. We're not bowling on a super high amount of volume, and this lane has a little bit of surface wear to it. And so the lane has changed exceptionally fast. It's caused us trouble yesterday. We're a little better prepared today so far. In general, we've been better, but I got pretty well fooled. And in doubles, you just never know. Simon can bowl great, but if Chris doesn't have a good look, it can be upside down in a hurry, and you never get out.
Dominic Barrett gets the match underway with a strike.
Now Dom picking up where he left off, but just from a little further left. That ball splitting the 8-9. Perfect reaction.
Yeah, it was aggressive. He got that one. Yeah.
One thing we have to say, of course, when Simonsen bowled the 300 last year, it was against Dom Barrett, and he nearly did it again, didn't he? Oh, but there's going to be no 300 this time.
No, and Simonsen has gone to a little bit loft here. Watch what it does. He gets it almost 10, 12 feet down the lane before it hits the lane, and that means he's feeling that friction in the front. That's been pretty consistent for everybody, but he's got the biggest toolbox of anybody in this event.
He certainly does. You can definitely tell he's increased the rotation, trying to delay the hook.
And you can tell where our focus is as a team, too. Vi only got 3 shots. He hasn't bowled in almost 2 hours, and one of his 3 shots was a spare ball. That he wanted to shoot something because it was been a problem, and then I brought it back up again. So
Teece, a wild card in more senses than one. Given his chance in this team by his partner in this doubles match.
Well, you can hear Stu from the European bench asking the ball to get there. And it does. Richie using that slow speed and that soft hand.
Keep it up.
Just floating the ball to the right, Chris.
His ball has seemed on the precipice of being too flat, going through the pins the whole time in almost every match, but yet it doesn't, and he keeps making the moves to stay in front of it, and basically has not done hardly anything wrong so far in this event.
Anthony projecting that ball a little further to the right, a little earlier. Chris trying to get it to slow down. Fortunate enough for that ball to hold pocket.
He's got a hyped that's right behind this. It's a lower flare ball and a little weaker cover that I know he's thinking about going to. I don't know how fast it'll happen, though. My guess would be next miss.
Well, we saw him in that earlier match today. He went to it about the 5th, 6th frame. It might be already time to go to the bullpen and make a color change.
Speaking of a guy with a pretty big toolbox, Dom Barrett has one of the largest in all, certainly in Europe and really around the world. He's really stuck with the same ball that he used last night in the last session. different pattern, and he's just making it work and going through a pretty big transition here from game 2 to game 3, and picking right back up where he left off the last 5 frames. That just left a target, and you know, not an uncommon trait among any bowler. That first shot where you're still a little amped up is getting it up the lane just a little bit.
You know, Chris, we were talking about earlier, I just feel that's one of the toughest parts for a bowler to overcome with this Scotch format, you know, where you can be basically shooting a spare 1, 2, 3, 4 shots in a row, and you know the lane's changing every single time, so you're really taking a guess at where you need to be by the time you get up to actually throw a first ball.
Yeah, it's an excellent point.
Well, let's see if Richie Teece can keep that soft hand going.
That one was a little bit more than just on the precipice of going flat. There's been some racks that have been a touch off here too, and that looked like
Good shot. Dom's going to spare it. We'll be right. Take it off.
you can hear Stu in the background. He says Dom's going to spare it, and he's probably not wrong. We have a camera there in the back, and it's made the pins bounce around a little bit more, and we've kind of been waiting for it already, other than Simonson's, which didn't impact a match. This is the first time they could.
Eerily close. We've seen the pins bouncing around, coming back onto the pin deck, but nothing is connected.
Actually cut it a little too much, and
I think it was okay.
Yeah, so I think it was okay. I guess it just didn't cut through that urethane. I think I just didn't.
It was one shot. It would do wonders for his confidence. Chris Vi, if this was the ultimate score.
Yeah, that was a great shot. You saw him call his own number there halfway down the lane. That was a little better. And that's what we've seen in practice so far, is that he has had the ability to create good reaction on all the patterns and really at any point of time during the day. And we put him down towards the end because he has one of the best looks of any of us at the end, him and Simonsen. So we'll see how that pays off.
So as a bowler, Chris, if you get a lead like Richie had the last frame, what are you thinking here? You making a move? What are you going to do?
I mean, two things go in his game. The two questions I always want to ask is what went wrong, and then how do I fix it? In this case, his ball ran out of energy. Okay, why? Did it hook too early? Or as you heard him talking about, he felt like he had more urethane. He's catching that urethane carry down from Doherty bowling earlier. So in his case, he wanted to just get it right faster than that. In this case, it looked like maybe he was hooking a little bit earlier, and so his next shot picks up, and now at big force instead of rolling out for 8-10. Wow.
Well, that's bowling the lights out, literally.
I mean, fortunately, it didn't happen in the middle of his approach. It actually was partway down the lane.
This wasn't tackle with his.
But it looked like it was a highlight package that it was set up ahead of time.
Camera.
I thought he made it too. I can't believe it didn't.
That pin in the pit, yeah. That pin was very close.
The craziness of all of this, you'd think, oh, wow, what a huge swing here. But if Simonsen doesn't strike, Europe will still have the lead. Not switching balls, so he'll move a little bit more left off his last shot.
Reset here. Come on.
Does he still keep his angle as tight, or do you feel he feels the middles have stretched a little bit? He has a little more hold.
He'll move 1 or 2 and 0, and so it'll get steeper going through it. He got it all the way to 5 in the first match. Was able to get from a spot none of us can even pretend. one in particular, and that's even a couple left to where he had the first match. So he overmoved just a little bit and was able to get away with it because just his unbelievable power. Yeah, it's out to about 7 there. They didn't quite get all the way out to some of those ones the first match that got all the way to 5 and peeled off of it.
Quite a transformation, this. Europe 32 ahead after 3 frames, trailing by 10 at the midway point of the contest.
Well, you know, it's interesting because this is the first adversity Richie has really faced the entire tournament. And it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts here.
That's an above average reaction. You know, his ball really, in practices, and we watched the other teams practice a little and try, and his balls looked flat going through the pins all the time. And then they start keeping score, and all he does is strike. So a bad break, followed up with a bad shot, and then or a bad move perhaps, and then that was the right move, and now he's got his team back in position again.
Chris, with power like that, it's got to make you feel like your job isn't that hard as leader of this team.
You'd think, and yet we're so behind. So either I'm really bad at my job, or maybe this is you know, they're making it a lot harder than we think.
It was perfect.
Dive in as you hear a little bit of the talk back there, but they both got their ball just a little behind the head pin. Their power allowed them to get away with it, and that is really the difference between the two-handed or any higher rev rate versus less. Prime example. You know, Dom is one of the best bowlers in the world and has been for 15 years. And this is a great shot. It's a move off of a lot of shots in front of him, and his ball hits the same spot Vise does, and literally looks like it has no chance of knocking the 10 out. And Vi's ball explodes at the head pin and just can openers the whole rack.
Not the most glamorous assignment for Richard Teece, but a very important one.
Yeah, with the way they got shot yesterday, everybody's a little bit more nervous about getting up there and making some shots. And the lane just hooks. You know, even the plastic balls are actually hooking. Even my ball felt like when I threw mine, I thought I actually made it on the inside, and then by the time it got down there, it wasn't really all that close to making it. And whether it's gravity or if it's just the wear of the lane, the spare balls are certainly tipping a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the points I was making earlier in the day, is how much friction is present on these panels. And when those small variances get into your spare shooting routine, it can take a while to overcome.
Man, he is so good right now. When he gets it going, it is just incredible, and it's why he's been a pick anytime I'm part of the group. He's so good.
And for all of his success individually last year, in the doubles he wasn't so effective, so when he comes good in this format, all of a sudden you think, well, the balance of power is tipped.
Well, the one thing we do have with this particular pairing is two guys that like to play the lanes a lot alike, and we didn't have as much of that in previous years with guys that like to play the same lane, lane play-wise quite as similar.
And we talked about the ball getting forward down lane, Chris. I just, watching Dom's ball, I feel that's where he's at now. He's reached that point where this ball is no longer getting through the pins.
Not with that particular release, and at this stage, though, you're kind of pot committed. I don't think he'll get out of it, but I do think he'll have to create more axis rotation, and he will. And you know, there's a pretty good chance, I would say, that Dom will strike on the next shot or ring 10, which has been pretty common for the guys with thumbs in it once their balls start getting too far forward.
Chris, were you at all taken back by the pattern selection by Dom when you found out today?
No, they picked this pattern like 5 or 6 times in the last 7 years, I think. So this pattern is a longer version of yesterday. Wow. Longer version of yesterday, and then also the lane doesn't really get super easy, and they liked them a little bit dirty. I think they feel like their advantage is keeping their hands soft, keeping the ball on line more often, and keeping the scores down a little bit. And, you know, I don't blame them for the strategy because it paid off last night. You can see that had been just barely missing. That's got to push.
I'll tell you what, Chris, your heart must have been in your mouth there.
I didn't really want to see that. I mean, it would have been a big turnaround once again. A match where if he strikes, you're up 30 with 2 frames to go. Who? What? What?
Knew it all along. Just how he drew it up.
Huge shot here. If he can put some pressure on by, it really turns the tables.
It'll be interesting to see if he goes to his toolbox, creates more axis rotation.
Yeah, definitely flipped around it more, and that's why he's one of the best players in the history of Europe, and really, you know, anywhere. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt.
Dom using his toolbox there, just going around the ball to delay the reaction, get it to flip a little harder, set right up in the 1-3, and puts the pressure on the USA to keep performing.
And that's what's changed from Chris Vi 5 years ago to Chris Vi now. Is he makes the small moves. He didn't over try to make that ball hit. Made a small move, and that was a perfect shot in a huge situation.
Absolutely, his maturity and ability to throw big shots in big moments has definitely grown over this last year, and I feel that's why he's where he is. Speaking of big shots.
So that is that. And you have Chris Barnes parity.
Yes, we're finally back to square, and we're square with Jesper having bowled twice already. So, you know, anytime you can win a session where Jesper, you know, or get back to square where Jesper has bowled as much as he has. Now he still has 1 match left, and we're going to have to find a way to, at some point, we're going to have to steal some games off Jesper. Been very dominant. So. Hats off to Chris Vi. Fantastic shot in the 9th to make this shot irrelevant. And Anthony Simonsen, who is without a doubt our MVP through at this point. He is both fantastic today. Asked him to bowl 3 times, won all 3, and was a big part of all of them.
Absolutely, Chris. You said it best. He couldn't have turned in a bigger performance when you guys absolutely needed one. Against the ropes just a little bit here.